Welcome to Watermark's Church Leadership Podcast, a conversation with church leaders for church leaders. I'm your host, John McGee. Thanks so much for joining us today. Welcome back, friends. Today, I am joined again with JP, Jonathan Pokluda. JP, you're still here.
I'm still here, man. Can't get rid of me. You said I was the worst podcast guest.
No, most difficult.
Most difficult.
Most difficult.
Most
yes.
difficult.
Yeah,
feels like worst.
We just got done recording an episode on ambition, which was fantastic. And JP and I were just sitting here. And I said, "Hey, what else are you passionate about?"
I said, "We got to do more, John. We got to do more. Let's do more. Let's do more.
Be more ambitious." And so I'm trying to help JP out here. But he said, "Hey." Team leadership, working in teams with teams, is something I'm passionate about. And I said, great, well, let's just hit record. We have no prepared outlines here, so we're just going to hit record.
It's not like we had a prepared outline for the last one.
That's true.
In fairness.
I actually thought about this one. This one I've thought zero about. But if you don't know, JP is the pastor at Harris Creek Church. He is an author. He's a podcaster. He is. You can find him on social media. He's blowing up everywhere. But
John McGee's friend.
He is a good friend and was on staff here for a long time at Watermark. And sometimes, honestly, JP, I forget you're not here because when you're in the building here, it feels like
I said I said we a lot today,
yeah.
Man. I was in meetings up here today, and I kept saying we, our elders.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So. You said, hey, one of the things you're passionate about is teams. I know that to be true. People might, from the outside, look at you and go, well, you're a conference speaker, and you write books, and you are, you're 7'3", and you're kind of this, larger than life personality sometimes. Mm-hmm. And yet, I've always known. So all those things are true. Minus the 7'3". How tall are you?
6'7".
6'7". Okay. And yet. That's the stereotypical, hey, I'm in charge. This all revolves around me. I've never known you to lead that way. Why is that, man? Why do you exist, and why do you live in community, prepare sermons in community, and lead in teams?
John, sometimes I feel guilty because I feel like I get the credit of a lot of other faithful people. So I'm the guy on the stage with the microphone, but there's a lot of people throwing in to make what you hear possible. I mean, somebody handed me that microphone, and the slide behind me somebody made, and listen, the words I'm saying, a lot of people have spoken into. Yeah. And so I am an extrovert, and some preachers start with a commentary in a closet by themselves at a desk and a desk lamp. That is not what I do. Every message that I've taught, almost without exception, in the past 16 years, has begun in a room full of people, and we say, hey, here's the passage. What do we think about this? What do you guys see? What are the interpretive challenges? And I try to have a diversity of thought there. I have an older woman there, a younger woman there, a theologian there, a creative kind of artist there, and just thinking through a diversity of thought to help craft that sermon. Now, this is a model. And so if you're a leader in the corporate world, in a business owner, in your church, you're in vocational ministry, what I want you to think about for a second is what is a problem in front of you you'd like to solve? And so for us right now, we have a space issue where we really need to figure out how many services, what are the right service times, where are we going to put people? But don't let me influence your problem. Think about it for a second. Most podcasts don't operate this way as a two-way street, but I want you to think about what is a problem that you're trying to solve right now. And it could be personnel, it could be financial, it could be any number of things. And then I want to bring you to the realization that you have access to people that solve those kinds of problems for a living. They have graduate degrees where they've sat with some of the brightest professors in the world that have taught them how to solve those problems. They solve problems like this all the time, and with experience comes expertise. And so what you can do, rather than you just stewing on that problem, you're in the shower, you're thinking about the problem, you're driving down the road, you're thinking about the problem, is you can actually put together a team of people. And you can say, hey, can you guys meet me Thursday at 3 or Thursday at 6 a.m.? We can sit around the table, we can whiteboard and say, hey, this is what I'm solving for. And you can invite their thoughts into that. And I'm telling you the punchline. The premise of this plan is that 7 brilliant people are always, every time, better than one person operating in isolation. The ideas that you come up with are going to be better. A sermon that I write in community of 7 to 12 people is going to be better than a sermon that I wrote by myself. If people will throw in on that, it's just better. The problems that you're going to solve, the creativity that you solve them with, the outcomes are going to be better. There's about 15 proverbs that say wisdom comes from the counsel of many. I would summarize as wisdom comes from the counsel of many. So if you're in this place where you want wisdom, James tells us to pray for it, and God gives it to us without finding fault. But the Proverbs, the book of wisdom, says get people in a room. And so I think when I think about teams, I think building teams around problems we're solving for. And like the Hollywood illustration is, Ocean's 11, right, which has become Ocean's 8 and Ocean's 12 and Ocean's all kinds of things.
Yeah.
But you think like you just see all of those characters play a role. You got the pickpocket, you've got the acrobat, and you've got the face of the operation, the networker, and everybody's playing a role to solve a common problem. Well, I mean, listen, that's 1 Corinthians 12. That's the church.
Minus the crime part.
Yeah. Minus the crime part. That's the church, right? The hands and the feet of Christ. Yeah. He's the head.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so it is a necessary skill, though, to be able to identify those who are different.
Yeah.
And any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't when I say I get a lot of credit for other people's work, it's like I don't think I've got a lot of gifts. I think probably one of my primary gifts is identifying talent, and recruiting talent. And so trying to think through, hey, who are gifted people we can get in a room, and understanding the diversity of thought. When I went to Harris Creek, we started with a staff retreat. Like I met everyone at the same time. And I can remember thinking, like, there was one guy there, and I thought, man, he's not going to be here long. This guy's short-lived. He just got on my nerves, and we just thought really different about everything. I mean, we voted different, and our theology in some ways is different. And that guy, I was just really wrong about him, and he has become a great partner to me. Because I really have gotten to this place in my leadership, John, where I'm really obsessed with someone who sees a problem different than I do. And because their solutions are different than I bring. And I'm able to compare the solutions that I bring with the solutions that they bring. And so this diversity of thought is actually really valuable. Now, there are diminishing returns on this is if you always get in a room and you're fighting with somebody, if it's always an argument, if it's a tug-of-war game. But if you can do this and create an environment where it's respectful and people can throw in their ideas, but they're not upset when their ideas aren't taken, and they feel like anybody's win is everybody's win, like those are the things that you're trying to create in your culture when you do this. And so it's a lot of we language. Hey, our sermon. Hey, how did you guys feel about our sermon? Hey, when we did that at our staff retreat, hey, thank you. And just, giving away credit as much as you can as a leader, I think is the best practice.
That's good. Okay. When I think back at your time here on staff, for a season, one of your only roles was to lead the porch, the young adult ministry here. And I think, if we didn't have any kind of AP poll. It wasn't like college football where we had first, second, and third place. But I would say the young adult team during that era would have generally had the number 1 or number 2 spot in terms of most engaged, most cohesion, most kind of creative, all the things. You pick a category, and the young adult team would have been there kind of 1 or 2. Are you able to go back and reverse engineer like what that was? What did you do as a leader to kind of help facilitate some of that?
Man, thank you for the compliment. And there's things here, help me nuance this because I don't want to be misunderstood in what I'm about to say. The first one is easy and not controversial. It's just vision, right? And so you have to hold the vision in front of them all the time. When you're building a team, they've got to know why they're in the room, what kind of problems are they solving, and it's been well said, like if they're not making fun of you for saying your mission statement or putting a vision in front of them. They're not like, yes, we know. Oh my goodness, stop saying it. You're not saying it enough. And so we just came up with this: surrender to God. We are changing the world through the lives of young adults. And that was a big heroic vision. And I remember we started with, we will surrender to God. We will change the world through the lives of young adults. And one of the volunteers goes, man, I don't like that because I think we are. And it came from her, and she was not on staff. And so it was like this, it wasn't this arrogant statement. It was just this statement of this faithful volunteer. And so it became, surrender to God. We are changing the world through the lives of young adults. And we would say that over and over and over and over and over. And we would just think about, hey, how can we do this, more? And so that's the non-controversial one. Some of the more controversial ones are, I think, is you have to tell the story, which sometimes feels like self-promotion. But I would ask those guys, listen, when we gather, I want you to say what you did. I want you to share what God did through you.
Mm-hmm.
And just like, you don't have to give a 100 humble disclaimers. Like, if you got to share the gospel with somebody and you saw them respond and become a Christian, like, share that story. We want to know that. It strengthens the body of Christ. And I would even say, John, things like, be eager to. Like, be eager to share. Listen, if they ask a question, zeal does not look like a long pause of silence. Like, jump in. Now, granted, if there's 100 people in the room and you're the first to speak every single time, like that's not going to look good. But if you never speak, or there's always this pause, I don't know that we need to waste that time. Like, let's celebrate what God is doing. And so there's an eagerness there.
Can I put a comment there? So I think what you're saying is create a culture where people feel comfortable celebrating like their wins, and then collectively, everyone is excited. They're not threatened by that. They don't look down on you. They're eager for you to have even more of those. Would you say that's kind of part of what you did? Okay,
sure.
Perfect.
I mean, in a word, it's enthusiasm.
Yeah, you're good. That's
and
good.
So just trying to, for them to be enthusiastic. And then, to leaders, I would say, don't be afraid to move somebody. Like, nobody on your team is bad at everything, probably. More than likely, if you have someone that's underperforming, you got to ask the question, is there a place on the bus where they would perform well? And can you move them? Do you have the freedom to move them to that, or to change their job description where they're focused on areas of strengths more than their areas of weaknesses? If somebody is bad at something, if they are underperforming, it really is really good information to know that. It's like, hey, you're not good at this, but you're probably good at something, and you probably didn't just like sneak through our interview process where you're really not very gifted, but somehow we made this tremendous mistake in hiring you. And so it's like, what are you good at, and do I have that position, or can I create that position on the bus, or change your job description so that you can do more of that? And then just in a team environment, that means somebody's going to have to carry the weight that you're not able to carry. And so I'm looking around at all the players and I'm saying, well, is there anyone that can do the things or thing that they weren't very good at doing? And you're just constantly making those shifts. It's maintenance, man. With people, it's different seasons, different strengths, different times. Who needs to step up? Who needs to throttle back here? Who needs to focus on something else? And you're always maintaining that so that the team, the machine stays, it stays well oiled. And then as the leader, you've got to make sure that they're focused on the right things, that they're moving the right direction, doing the right things for the right reasons. And so I think that's all in leading that team, things you're trying to do. And I'll just say lastly, and we could talk a lot about this, is nobody is really motivated just to prop up a person. And so if all of the team's wins are my wins, I mean, that's just not super motivating, man. And so it's like, how do we make sure the person we prop up is Jesus, and we're all able to celebrate that equally? And listen, that's really hard when your leadership position does kind of have you pushed out to the front. And so you got to get real creative in thinking, hey, how do I share the wins with the team? How do I share the prizes with the team? How can I bless them for their efforts? And one thing that you guys did here that I have taken with me and stolen was just realizing that not everybody is motivated the same way. Some people are motivated by public praise. Some people are motivated by pay raises. Some people are motivated by private words of affirmation or notes, and just like understanding, like, hey, what makes you feel loved and appreciated, and adapting as a leader, like coming their way and doing those things for them as you're able.
I love it. Okay, so for those of you that are playing along at home, I took some notes here, JP. These are your 6 things you need to do to lead effective teams. Number 1, have a vision. Know where you're going. Repeat that. Keep telling your team about that. Number 2, bring enthusiasm. Bring energy. Let that be contagious. Let everyone else kind of share in all that's good there. Make that the fun. I think you made your team the fun, exciting team to be on. You did that great. Number 3, put people that are on the bus in the right seats, and that's consistent. You don't do that one time. Number 4, you share the wins. And so it isn't my win, it's our win. We can all be excited about what God's doing. Know what motivates different people. Don't treat everyone the same. Find that. I think you study people really, really well. And then lastly, make it all about Jesus and not about you as a point leader. That's a pretty good outline, brother. Those are off the top of your head. That's some really, really good wisdom. Okay, let me ask you this. Anything changed about the way you lead teams, the way you think about teams, when you use teams? Anything changed the last several years for you?
Yeah, I think it's 2 things. One is, my old self, I believe, would really struggle if someone was slow to get on the bus, like someone is slow to move the direction I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I've jujitsu'd that a little bit, where I've just said, all right, what is it I'm not seeing? Okay, great. Let me be patient here. The Lord might actually be protecting me from something. I learned this the hard way. And so if you don't want to go the way that I'm saying to go, let me pause and really seek to understand and make sure that I'm not missing something. And what that does is it usually allows me to course correct some and go a slightly different direction, or even the pause to hear them out allows them to step on the bus and say, you know what, you've heard me. If you still think we need to go this way, I'm all in. I can follow someone with the humility to listen to that. And so I think that is strategic. And then the second thing I would say is I solve problems by myself too much. And so I'm telling you right now, matter of factly, it is better to solve problems with other brains,
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's inconvenient to get those other brains in a room. And so for the sake of time and brevity and efficiency, I just make decisions by myself, and it's just it's lesser. It's just always not as good. And so if you're stuck at a problem, take the time to get the people in the room and have them speak into it, because it also gets buy-in, especially if you're a church leader, from the congregation. They're able to sit in rooms you're not going to be able to sit in and say, you know what, we wrestle with that. Oh yeah, we thought about that. No, we looked at doing that, but we actually landed here because, and it was actually unanimous. And having those other voices in the room, and that has saved me many times. So
that's awesome. So your first one there, are you saying that previously you probably gotten frustrated with dissenting opinions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like quick. I look back at my old self, and I would say I was too quick to be frustrated rather than to see that as a blessing. Yeah. And it's it's pride and it's arrogance. It's like, hey, what's your problem? Like, you can take it personally. Do you not trust me as a leader? Hey, I'm in the position of authority. You need to do what I say. And now I see that more as, okay, this could be the Lord's protection.
Yeah.
Let me go slow. Let me understand what their concerns are. Make sure I'm not missing something.
I love it. Okay, anything currently you're working on in regards to team leadership? Do you have a growth area for yourself?
I think when you have somebody in the wrong spot, or you're playing down a person, man, that can be really exhausting. And I think, it's like it's easy for me to say, hey, get everybody in the right place.
Yeah.
But what if you sit in that place where you're like, hey, I'm not sure who's not in the right place? I don't have anybody to put in this empty place, and all of that takes time. And I just want to acknowledge that as a leader, that does take time and energy and prayer, and a lot of times the hard work and all of this, like finding the right people and getting them in the right spots, is prayer, and just asking for the Lord's favor in those areas. And I can be quicker to take action than I am the slow contemplative prayer. And so I would say I'm learning that in this season.
That's good. I don't know if this will pan out. We'll ask this question. You getting more joy these days from seeing a team come together, or just doing something where it doesn't have to be prideful, but you are just crushing it individually? The lights are on you, the microphone's on. What gives you more joy these days?
It's hands down the team. And so like I can just tell you specific examples. Easter, right? And so as I like reflect back on our Easter service this year, like I had a sliver of the pie, and like what made the Easter service was this video we showed that they, like, somebody found the story, somebody else made the video, somebody else directed that. The worship elements, the songs that were chosen, but also what was happening on the screen and in the environment in the room. There was an art install in the lobby. Like, this is what made the Easter morning like, it wasn't like people weren't getting in the car talking about the message. It was like my part. It's like I'm telling a story, a 2,000-year-old story that everybody's heard.
Yeah.
But it's these other components that made it awesome. And so it just, like, the text message I sent on the way home to our group chat, our group text, was just like, guys, way to go, way to throw in. I'm so proud of this family. And it just felt like a big win. Yeah. Okay. Compare that to why do I do what I don't want to do? Being a bestseller that nobody really knows. I mean, Amazon knows, right? Like, and so they'll give that flag, but it's like, that's a lonely place, man. You can just imagine me on my bed by myself on my phone, clicking to see how many we sold, and there's no one there to high five, and I'm just like sending an email to Grand Rapids, Michigan to say, hey, thanks, to a team that I hardly know and rarely around. It's lonely, man. Like, that's not it. It's just not it. And so I'll take the team wins over the individual wins any day of the week.
Yeah. Well, I asked a question because I knew the answer, because when I've seen you light up the last couple of years, I mean, you've done a lot of fun things. You've spoken a lot of places, wrote books, and you're not, dispassionate about it. But when you really light up, you talk about your staff and your team.
It's like any dad or mom knows that. It's like you can have a great accomplishment as a mother, but when your kids all work together, and they throw in, or the whole family comes together to do something great, it's like, man, that's where you feel a sense of accomplishment. And so I think that is a path to a greater joy as a leader, is trying to think through, hey, how do we assemble great teams and get us working on, a great mission and being able to celebrate wins together.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, brother, thank you. Some really good thoughts here. Any other kind of, hey, I just want to make sure I say this.
Let me hear the 6 again, man.
These are from you. These are
brilliant,
genius.
Yeah, it's a book.
You're always looking for your next book, aren't you?
Always. Yeah, got that ambition.
All right. You want to have a vision, right? And you want to keep it in front of people.
Right.
You want to repeat it. Number 2, you want to create enthusiasm, bring enthusiasm, energy, those kinds of things. Number 3, put people on the bus in the right seats. And so you can have them on the bus, not in the right seats. It takes a lot of energy, a lot of time, a lot of thought. Number 4, you want to share the wins. Everyone wants team wins, not individual wins. That's the kind of team they want to be on. Number 5, know what motivates people. So just understand everyone's got a different, lever you can pull. A different way to encourage them might be another way to think about that. And then number 6, you make it about Jesus and not about you.
Yeah,
and people will rally around that, and I've seen that in your ministry, brother. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we can sell that to Patrick Lencioni or some great leadership, Craig Rochelle.
Okay.
We'll get that to you, Pastor.
Well, good. Well, brother, thank you. It's been fun to watch you lead teams, and I've learned from you. And I think the one that I'm just thinking about is the enthusiasm and the energy when I think about you. And you do all these well. That's one of the things that distinguishes you. I think a lot of people are on teams and they're just head down.
Yeah.
They're convinced they're doing the right thing. They're not. They're convinced they're going in the right direction. They're in the right seats. But there's just not that kind of X factor of energy and let's go.
Let's go.
There. Whatever that looks like for you, it might not be like JP, but to bring enthusiasm and energy. So, brother, thank you.
Yeah,
and
thanks for having me, man.
friends, wherever you are, I hope you're moving towards team leadership, not a solo leadership model where you are the hero, the spotlight's on you. It's a lot more work, but it's also a lot more fun. And even more importantly, I think it's much more effective and really does reflect the heart of God for the church and reflects his genius giving of gifts to his body and to his people. And before we go, make sure you check out JP on all the socials. Harris Creek is where you can find some great sermons. And then Why Do I Do What I Don't Want to Do is JP's newest book. It's doing really, really well. You can check that out on Amazon. Friends, thanks so much for listening. If you have any questions or comments, you can always reach us at clp@watermark.org. That's clp@watermark.org. We'll talk to you again next time.
See you guys.